Ja, vad trevligt. Orkar ni det här så kommer jag och löser in det.
Men det är bara det jag tror Magnus köper mig. Alltså jag vet inte vad jag gör.
For about 30 minutes, and we're just gonna have, there's a group of people over at this Saloon 4, so we're just gonna give them some time to come up here as well and blend in with you guys. And after that, for those who haven't met and spoken and taken pictures and getting their thing signed with Ellen, there will be another meet and greet for an hour after. So hopefully you all get a chance, or you will get a chance to meet him and talk to him. But after the movie, just sit put or go to the toilet and come back, and we'll be up back here. And also for you guys, there's the movie, you can actually buy it and have it signed afterwards. But enjoy the movie, and thank you again for coming.
See you next time. Good night. Thanks a lot.
Hello, Rio. And here we have Mr. Alan Wilder, the one and only. And he's just gonna start saying something, and then I'm gonna go around and pass the microphone to anybody who wants to ask a question.
Good evening, everyone. Well, I've actually pre-met most of you already, which is not normally what happens at these things. I tend to meet people afterwards, so it makes me feel a bit more relaxed. I know that you're all fairly normal. There's a couple of abnormals, but I won't mention who they are. You may find out in the next half an hour. This is the last kind of Q&A session we've done on this very, very busy weekend. We had 2 events yesterday, 2 screenings of the film in Copenhagen, and then a talk in the afternoon about my thing with Talk, which some of you may know something about. So we're a bit hoarse, and we did a chat earlier in the salon, so I know a few of you have probably heard all this shit before. I'll try not to repeat myself all the time, and it's down to you too, as well, not to ask all the same questions all the time. So you've got to come up with some original ones, right? So we'll try and make this one the best of the lot anyway, and I'm not going to prattle on for too long. I'd rather just take your questions, really, but I'll tell you a little bit about the film. For anyone who doesn't know how it came together, it was almost an accident where, not really, but a group of filmmakers turned up in Budapest and just arrived with their cameras and said, can we just film your concert? And you know, there's no obligation to use it, there's no cost involved, we just want to do it. And I just thought that was a really nice approach, and I couldn't see anything to lose by agreeing. So I said, yes, please do, and 2 years later we managed to, you know, edit this end result together. And then of course there's been a lot of post work, I guess, putting it together, manufacturing the final project, finding a way to get it out, really, because it's not been that easy to do. Well, we got there in the end, and I'm very happy we did so. And a lot of it, you know, it's a very heartwarming story in a way, because so many people have contributed, a lot of Hungarians, but also some other people, and they're all people that have come to me at various stages and said, look, we'd love to do something for you, we really respect and enjoy what you do, and we want to see this thing get out there. So it's in this, you know, difficult time for the industry, and many artists and musicians struggling a little bit to survive. You know, sales of CDs are down. We all know what's going on in a way. It's really heartwarming to see that this kind of thing can still happen. And for me personally, it's just really exciting to be able to have a film presented in a cinema, you know, a place where I love to go and watch film myself. So that's really it. It's a sort of unusual kind of abstract concert film, and that's all I've got to say about it. I'd rather now just ask you, anyone's got any questions about anything at all?
Right here.
Where are we?
Here.
Please.
Okay. I wonder if you can tell an anecdote of the most disastrous gig you performed, where like a synthesizer caught fire, or the organizers didn't have power cables, or whatever.
Yeah. Well, that's a good start. Because we haven't had that question yet. But funny enough, we were just talking about that with a couple of people outside, and they reminded me of one occasion in Stuttgart where the entire PA gave up and just the monitors were going. Of course, that's happened to every band over the years, but in this particular case, it tells me that the audience just took over. Is that right, Frederick? And they were just singing along, and they knew all the songs. So sometimes those strange situations create something really, really special and magical, and I guess that might have been one of them. And I remember also in Stuttgart an occasion where we were just playing, you know, one of the last songs of the set, and we saw all the people running for the exits, and we just assumed that we were playing particularly badly that night. But as it transpired, someone had let off a tear gas bomb, you know, and the whole place was gradually clearing, and then the gas eventually came to the stage, and we had to get off as well. And there's a couple of other gigs where everything's failed, of course, and you're just left with Fletch doing that. Amusing. So there's been a few. Now that gets a round of applause, eh? Yes. You, sir. You. We want your question. He hasn't got one. Pass it around until we get to someone who has.
How come that this film was released through Bernard and Alpha Matrix? How did it end up there, the release?
Yeah, well, I initially proposed this whole idea to Mute, and they were a bit kind of, well, I'm not sure, you know, Blu-ray's a bit of a specialist format, is there going to be much interest? We'll let you know, is what they said. So I thought, bollocks, I'll do it myself, you know. But of course, I can only go so far in self-promotion, you know, I try my best. I am very hands-on, I get involved in the online side of it. I try and cultivate the relationships with other websites and other people who can support and help spread the word. But you still got to get the thing distributed somehow, and I've known Bernard for quite a long time. He's been supportive with his Sideline project. And we discussed it, and I told Bernard what was going on. He said, well, we'll help you, you know, get it out. So Alpha Matrix have taken on some of the distribution elements and got it into, you know, some shops and Amazon and places like that, you know.
Questions here?
Yeah.
Yes.
Can you share something about your work progress? You collaborate a lot. Where do you start? Are you starting with the lyrics, or are you doing just an ID?
Yeah, my problem is that I have trouble actually writing songs. Always have done, really. I don't come up with top-line melodies and words particularly easily. So I've decided my starting point has to be much more about experimentation, loops, playing around with bits of performance, chopping it up and creating some kind of atmosphere, something that excites me. And then I just follow that process. If it seems to be working, I'll go with it. If it doesn't move me in some way or create some atmosphere, I'll shelve it. So I trust in this process, and I know that if I just follow my instincts, I'll end up with something that does sound like me. And then hopefully that will then suggest vocalists or other contributors that can add something to that. Whether it is even a vocalist, it could also be a filmmaker, like, for example, the films you see on the stage show tonight, they're all from collaborators who've come to mind or proposed themselves after the event, after the music. And it's the same with vocalists, you know. It's not until I have that music that I can sort of hear the voice that might be applicable and then go and find that person. Or occasionally, as we discussed earlier, the person might come to me, as in the case of Recoil Blackman. So I never really know until I've got quite a long way into the process. Yeah.
Question here?
Yes.
I heard something about a pig getting shot and with Axl Rose on some after party in LA.
I wasn't there.
You wasn't there?
I heard something too, but I'm very vague about it because it was one of my off nights, and I didn't have that many off nights. But I wasn't out that night, and then I heard the next day, "Did you hear what happened?" And I said, "What?" And no one ever really did tell me what happened. So I can't really enlighten you, I'm sorry. But something did happen, yeah.
Questions? There we go.
Come on, you're quite a lot.
Okay.
This is supposed to be the last lively one of the night.
Yes. Okay, I have to get it this way. Well, anyway, Alan, let us just hear a little bit. You talking about this as a movie. What would you do? What's next for you?
I will start working on some. Well, we want to do a few more events in the States, so we'll probably go over to LA and New York and Chicago, perhaps a couple of other places in January. But after that, I want to get back into the studio and make some new music. But I'm not going to. Yeah, it's easy to start now. It's not done yet. So I've been saying this for about 5 years. The intention is to go and make some new music. And what it will be, I don't really know, because I've just described how I never really know what I'm doing. So I don't really know, but I'm keeping a very open mind about it. I don't want to say it'll be an album, I don't want to say it'll be a film. I'm just going to make music and see what it turns into. And if it gets applied to a film, I'm putting a few feelers out in that direction, looking for interesting filmmakers who might want to work together. So, and I was talking about David Rossi yesterday, who was with me for the Talk thing, and we had a good chat the other day about maybe trying to do some things together in that respect, you know. Daniel Meyer has also sent me some of his new material, and he wants me to get involved with that. So I'm regarding all of those things as kind of source material to get me going on something, and then we'll see what it turns into. It could be anything.
Yeah. Could you tell me a bit about your role in the Talk project, and especially to what extent you had to deal with the Talk members and Mark Hollis, given that he's a bit of a recluse?
Yeah. I never dealt with the band members. I never met them. I mean, I have met them briefly in the very early 80s when we bumped into each other on promotional trips and things, but they have stayed away from the project, which is makes you slightly uneasy when you're trying to pay tribute to someone who doesn't really give you any feedback about whether they're enjoying what you're doing. And of course, this is not me really, it's a whole bunch of artists and bands and whatever who have recorded these songs and the book that goes with it. And I just got drawn into it by the organizer, who asked me to pay more and more attention to the musical submissions that came in. And he kept asking my advice, and, you know, do you think this is any good, Alan? Is this too long? What should we do? I said, well, you better just let me take over on that aspect, and I'll be your executive producer and try and at least put it together in a way that I imagine Talk might like. I don't know if they do, but I do know that it's very important when I make records to make something cohesive and that makes sense as a whole. And I just try to apply that to this. And it was an interesting project. I enjoyed getting involved. I enjoyed doing my own cover versions for it. And I enjoyed discovering a few people along the way who also respect the band and respect the music. And there's a lot of good stuff on it. Yeah, it's a great thing, I think. And it just opens up to a whole new audience some of their seminal work, which is great, but it wasn't particularly popular. You know, they became less popular as they went along, but they made better and better records. So we want more people to know about those records, really.
You don't know why they stay away?
Say again?
You don't know why they stay away, Talk from this?
I have no idea why, no, I really don't actually know what the reason. They just don't want to talk about their past. I guess it's boring to them, you know? It's quite boring for me to talk about Depeche Mode. It is. I'm being honest here. It's because, you know, if you were there, you don't want to repeat the whole stories all the time. But so I can imagine from their point of view, they've just kind of drawn a line under it and said, look, we do other things these days, you know. Let someone else talk about it. So that's what we're doing.
But still you do remixes from Depeche Mode songs. Still you do remixes from Depeche Mode songs.
I still do one, yes, I did do one.
You can't let them go completely.
Well, they asked me and I'm nice. I was quite surprised to be asked though. You know, but I thought, well, it was a good challenge. The question was it a question? It wasn't really a question. Let's not go there then. Who's got a question? You.
You said that it's actually quite hard for you to write actual songs.
Yeah.
How does that make you feel?
Well, a little bit frustrated. I'd love to be able to be a prolific songwriter and come up with some classic songs, you know, but I think I sort of, what's the word? I can't think of the word, but as soon as I try to write lyrics or a melody, I immediately censor it and say that's not good enough, you know, that's crap. And all the lyrics I've ever come up with, I thought, oh, that's awful, you know. And I can't seem to get beyond that point of just allowing it to be okay in my own mind. Whereas with music, it's a different thing. I kind of have more confidence about, you know, some of the musical ideas I have or the way to arrange. I'm much more confident about orchestration and arranging sounds and creating atmosphere with sound and the detail of how it should all go together. So, you know, even though I'm self-critical in that respect as well, and which is a good thing to be self-critical. You know, it keeps you on your toes, and you know, everyone who makes records wants to try and improve on the records they've made before, and we often don't do that. So it's important that you're self-critical, but it can also hold you back. You know. that's it. But with the songwriting, I've always found it tough, and I don't really enjoy the songs that I did force myself to write in the early Mode days, Yes.
But do you miss working with a songwriter like Martin Gore?
Yes, sometimes I do. I miss having that focus. I'm often really faffing around in the dark when I'm making the music and can't see the wood for the trees. There's nothing to kind of... There's the reason I brought vocalists in the first place with Recoil, which it did start as completely instrumental music, and I realised it just needed more focus. And of course a voice and a structure of a song can immediately give you that, and it can help you musically know where you need to do things and what you need to do. And with my own music, quite often, once I've created something that I'm quite happy with the atmosphere of, and I give it to a vocalist, once they add their voices and their ideas, then I completely rechange the music because I immediately see what I need to do then. So yes, I do, is the answer. I do miss that.
Is there anybody that you would like to work with in the future then?
You always come up with these questions. It's a difficult one, there are a few singers that I've mentioned in the past, obviously Mark Hollis would be one, but doesn't look like there's any chance he'll ever do anything. I've always loved Lisa Gerrard's voice, and Elizabeth Fraser from the Cocteau Twins. I love Morrissey. There's plenty of great singers I enjoy, but I'm not actively, as I said, I really don't know who I need until I've got something going, so I just keep open mind. And actually, if I add up all the different singers I work with quite a lot, so usually something interesting comes along. I love Joe Richardson's voice, and he was someone I actually kind of hunted down by Googling for a blues singer. And I discovered this guy and I thought he must be a famous singer, he's got such a fantastic voice. But he wasn't really well known at all, and I just wrote to him and he said, I'd love to work with you, man, and all this. And that was great, to discover someone new is really exciting, I think.
Questions? Yeah?
Do you give yourself deadline when you work to be able to have something finished to go to vocalists?
Yes, but you can break the deadlines, that's the problem. So they're not real deadlines. You know what I mean? It's like procrastination when you're starting. You always know that you're procrastinating, but you find an excuse to not go in the studio and do something. I've got to go and do this other thing. Yes, deadlines can put good pressure on you often. And occasionally you've got a real deadline, you usually manage to finish what you need to do right at the last minute. So I give myself as much time as I possibly can. Of course, mixing and finishing records, it's much more of an open book these days because the technology allows you to keep going back to things and keep changing them and twiddling. And whilst it's good to have a bit of perspective, go away from your piece of music and come back to it and say, oh, now I know what to need to do. It's also too easy to keep fiddling and never saying, right, that's it. So, yeah.
You don't want to focus here.
Where? There you are. Yes.
You don't want to focus in one song artist.
Well, I think it's really...
In one way.
No, because it's really interesting to have the opportunity within this project to work with many different people. That's the advantage I have by not being in a band where everything's a democracy, everyone has to agree. In Depeche Mode we were quite an insular group, we didn't work with many other musicians, we hardly ever got a session musician in, only in the later years. And we used to impose all kinds of rules on ourselves, like no guitars, which made no sense. Because you can use guitars well or you can use them badly, like any instrument. So we woke up to that, of course, and allowed ourselves to use many instruments, but we didn't work with many other musicians. And one of the many reasons why I kind of moved on and did something else was that I could then suddenly work with whoever I wanted to, really.
Okay, but we live the democracy. You decide and you go for one artist, one song artist. Still you don't want to?
No. It's too limiting, On one song I want an ethereal female voice, on the next I want a hard blues voice or something else.
Okay, here we go.
Do you have a go-to synthesizer that's your favorite, that you use a lot? And the second question is, do you use software synths at all?
I use any tool that happens to be around that sparks my imagination at that particular moment. So I don't have many favorites as such. But the VCS3, which is the old English synthesizer, is great for sticking sounds through. And I quite like using synths to send sample sounds through, and then use the filtering options within those synthesizers to do something interesting to those samples. And the VCS3 is brilliant for that, so we send a lot of our sounds through that synth. I've always liked the old Mini Moog, you know, that was my first synthesizer, so I've got a soft spot for that. And I use quite a few soft synths, yeah, but most of my work is not synthesizer based. It's more samples and performance, you know. And it's very important to me that the music has some kind of inherent human feeling to it and an organic quality to it, you know. But I also enjoy electronics and the digital manipulation of all those performances. So you can structure the music in a way that couldn't necessarily have been performed that way, but it has the feeling, the humanness. You know.
Do you have a modular?
A modular synth?
Yeah.
What do I have? No, I don't actually. No, I've never really. I mean, I'm not a big synth wizard, believe me.
You surprised me now.
Well, I watched Daniel for many years fiddling about trying to get a bass drum sound through an ARC 2600 for 3 days, you know. And I thought, it's not for me. He was great though. I mean, he's really good, and Flood is really good with those as well. Yeah, they're much better than me.
Question?
Is there any tool that you're missing? Some function that you're missing?
No, in fact, I get frustrated with the tools generally because they can often slow you down. Obviously, there's some great tools around for making music, but there's also, it seems to be a lot of pressure. Oh, you've got to try the new this, or you must try the new this, or we've got the latest version of Ableton, the latest version of this. And I foolishly often dive in and find myself in the studio for 3 days going, what the fuck's going on, you know? And all the ideas I might have had in that time have just gone into the ether because I've been frustrated trying to work out how this new bit of technology works. So I've kind of learned to stay a little bit back from that. Yes, you know, I don't want to be a heathen and not explore, but at the same time, I'm quite comfortable just having a system that I know will work and I can quickly do what I need to do. As I say, you know, I'm no wizard, I'm no nerd. I'm just someone who enjoys making music, and if a piece of equipment makes it easy for me to do it, I'm likely to go to it.
Alan, I remember when you first started playing the drums, and that was kind of, you know, a big revolution. Like suddenly you're playing drums in the pitch mode. How long did you actually practice before you actually got back on stage and played the drums? And
well, it started during the recording of Songs of Faith and Devotion. In fact, I may have played a few things on Violator, but they would have been just like hi-hat parts or the odd snare thing. And then I think Dave was also someone who encouraged me to do more. He said, well, you're quite good on these drums, why don't we do some more of that, you know? And I also found that I wasn't being challenged enough on stage, you know. The parts are quite simple to play on a keyboard, and I'd get a little bit bored on a long tour, and I thought, yeah, I could do that if I practice hard enough. Maybe I could do something that's more physical, more challenging. So I started with the Songs of Faith and Devotion record, where I played a lot more of the drums, and we still recorded them as kind of looped parts because I couldn't really get right through the songs and keep in time the whole way. So we would record sections and then, you know, sample it. But when it came to touring that album, well, I thought, well, I've got to be able to play from the beginning to the end, you know. So I literally just locked myself away, practiced stuff for 3 or 4 hours a day at my home, every day, pretty much, until I was good enough to go on that tour and actually play them properly. And we say properly, I mean, I never consider myself a great drummer, but in some respects, the restrictions of what I can and can't do on the drums suited the band quite well. You know, I could keep it quite simple and stick to the beat, and you know, and not get too fancy about it all. So that's what I tried to do, and I did really enjoy it. and it kept me fit, and you know.
So you miss playing drums?
Well, I don't practice like I should. You know, I hardly practice at all, so I do miss it a bit. But you know, I can't miss it that much. Otherwise, I would be doing it, wouldn't I? So maybe I should. And I sold my drum kit, which is a bit sad, but I can buy another one.
Okay, question.
Was it hard to take Recoil live, go on stage?
I felt a bit self-conscious going on stage at the beginning. I got better as I went on. I kind of relaxed into it, but at the beginning, and because it was more of a presentation than a live band, and that's how it was always intended to be. Once I got in front of an audience doing it, I thought, oh God, what have I done? You know, I'm not really doing that much here. I'm feeling really stupid. I can't kind of hide behind something else. You know, I've just got to stand there and fiddle around with a laptop. So I think next time if we do another Recoil tour, I'll try and do a bit more. But as I say, we set it up. We never set it up with the intention of going on the road for 2 years. The idea really was just to present the music in conjunction with the compilation album at some promotional events. But that was the initial intention of this whole thing, and it just grew into something.
Okay, last question, because we have to close down at about 11. So for those who haven't seen and met Alan yet, that's the time.
Yeah, do you play...
remembered your question now, haven't you? Sorry, yeah, go on.
Do you sit and play any piano these days, or keyboards?
Well, a bit, yeah. I've got a piano at home, a nice Bosendorfer piano actually, and my kids also play, so I kind of try and help them a bit. And I play myself a little bit, you know, but not that much really, you know. Just when the mood takes me, I've had a few beers and have a bit of a sing-song, you know, happens sometimes. Yeah.
I heard when you recorded the Songs of Faith and Devotion, you had these jam sessions on a local bar or whatever with the band.
Right, yeah, in Hamburg. We stayed at the Marriott Hotel in Hamburg for one of the sessions. That album was recorded in 3 different stages, you know, Madrid, Hamburg, and then in London I think we finished. And during the Hamburg stay we would end up in the bar in the Marriott, and a few beers went down, and we'd end up around the piano taking over the place. It was quite good fun actually. We got a lot of work done in that period, because the initial period in Madrid, was awful really. You know, we were there for, I don't know, 2 5-week periods, so 10 weeks, and we recorded 3 songs in 10 weeks. It's not good, is it? And I don't know why it was so slow, but the interesting thing was that those 3 songs were In Your Room, Walking in My Shoes, and Condemnation. So, and maybe bits of some others. So actually some pretty strong stuff got done, but we didn't have a great time, you know. And then when we got to Hamburg, somehow, because we were not living together anymore, we had a proper hotel, we could get away from each other. Suddenly it all started to come together, and we recorded 8 tracks in that, 8 songs in that session, which was just a 6-week period.
Thank you.
All right. We noticed that you didn't all buy a Blu-ray earlier, so we've still got a few out there, and I'll be around a bit longer if anyone wants to chat anymore or get anything else signed. As Jeannie said, they're going to chuck us out quite soon, this cinema, unfortunately. But thank you very, very much. It's been a great weekend. I've really enjoyed being back in Stockholm. I haven't been here for a while, so it's great that you all came out, and once again, thanks again. Cheers.
You could open up the industry and quite nice.
I don't think she's doing music anymore.